Hey everybody, my name is Natalie Duncan-Emmons. I wanted to thank you for listening to this episode of The Morning Show. I'm the creator, the producer, and the host of the show. We want you to check out our website. It's themorningshowwithnatalie.com. You can go to that website. You can see all about our sponsors, all about the show. You can even listen to live episodes while they're going on right there from the website. Another way to listen to the show live is go to Live 365. You can download that app and just search for The Morning Show. It's right there. Super easy. We want you to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel if you will. That way you can keep up with what's going on the morning show. Thank you. I hope you enjoy it. My name is Natalie Duncan-Emmons. You are listening to The Morning Show. We almost hate to see this week come to an end. What a great experience to feature not one artist this week, but an entire army of artists, an army under the title of Daywind. Wow, what an honor this has been. We've saved the very best to last. This is what we've been looking forward to all week long. You've already experienced him on the show throughout the week, and I've heard from so many of you who have fallen in love with my dear friend. He's right here with us, Mr. Dusty Wells. Dusty, welcome to the morning show.
Hey, Natalie. Well, first of all, I love what you are doing. You know, I've been a fan of yours for several years now and love what you've done for our family of artists and all the other. When I talk about Daywind Records, yes, we have an incredible family of artists, but I'll tell you what, there's an incredible army of artists out there that you so wonderfully and graciously and passionately help get their music out there. There's nothing like the power of Christian music. I like to call it heart music. So
yes.
Yeah, thank you. This is an honor. This is an honor.
I can't wait to talk about that heart music. You know, Dusty, I really don't know what I'm doing. Every single day we're making it up as we go here on the morning show, but we're having a good time.
I think that, I'll tell you what, Natalie, I think that sometimes is the best. You know, you hear singers and ministers where I love Dottie Rambo, who I traveled with for years. She used to always say, you know what, friends, she'd say, of course, she called them darling. She called everybody darling. She'd say, you know what, darling, I have a starting point. She'd go to a concert. She said, I know what the first couple of songs, but after that, I just let it flow. I just get in and I let God lead and direct. And I know you do that to a degree. You have a great starting place, and I guarantee you have a great ending place, but it works. It's all about just sharing music and touching people's hearts and encouraging them in whatever they're going through.
That's right. And every day's a new day. Every day's a little bit different. So we just go with it.
Yeah. Yes, I love that. I love that.
Well, Dusty, you talked about us not knowing each other for a very long time. We officially met, I don't know, a year or two ago at the Absolutely Gospel Music Awards in Franklin, Tennessee. And I want you to know that my life has been better for it ever since.
Well, I'll never forget seeing you. I'd heard of you and everything, and it was a Southbound. We were taping the live video for Southbound, if I remember correctly, and all of a sudden there you were, and just your presence and your joy, and you'd driven in for it, and I thought that was just so cool. I don't know how far away, maybe 6-7 hours, or was it farther?
About 6 hours. Yeah.
And I just remember thinking, this is somebody that is crazy passionate about what they do. Because I remember seeing just your enthusiasm and your love and your honor for these artists and what they do. And I remember and I've felt that for the last 2 years. Every time I see you at convention or at different concerts, or I love how you are such a cheerleader. And, that's one of my biggest, I love being called a cheerleader and encourager. It's the greatest, to me, the greatest compliments. And I love that you do that for the artists.
We better learn to cheer each other on. Life is hard enough without having somebody to help you. So that's the best thing we can do for one another, is just, give a little encouragement, a little support.
I love to call it. I had a dear friend years ago, and maybe some of your older listeners will know, there was an incredible writer, and her name was Joyce Landorf Heatherly, and she wrote a book called Balcony People. And let me tell you, Natalie, I need to get you a copy of it, because it's one of the greatest books. It's incredible, and it was all about in life. We should be, and we need to have people who are balcony people. They're standing there and they're applauding us and saying, you go, Natalie, you run this race. Dusty, go. And that book changed. I was 26 or 27, and I am 64 4 now. That book literally, I've always been an encourager, and I've always loved to push people. When I first came to know the Lord, that's been a big call on my life. But when I was it changed the way I viewed things, and I thought, I want to be known as a balcony person. I want to always be known. Balcony people can be encouraging, they can be uplifting, they can be challenging, they can help you in mentoring, but I want to be known as a balcony person. That's my heart. That's my
incredible.
heart.
I've made a note here. I'm going to get that book.
I'm telling you what, it is amazing. It's one of my favorite books ever. It just really is.
Wow. Well, we are just getting warmed up with Dusty Wells. Don't go anywhere. We have so much to talk about. We're going to take a little break. We're going to play one of these day wind artists that we've been supporting all week long. And when we come back, we're going to hear all about heart music from our friend Dusty Wells.
Have come too far to turn back now. There's an end in sight we see, and the Lord has brought us safe thus far with His grace and perfect peace. But too many battles have been lost with the finish line in sight. So let us keep the faith and win this race before the day turns into night. When you're halfway up the mountain, there's no time to rest a while. When you're halfway to your victory, you must go that extra mile. Just keep pressing on, though the road is long. When your feet get tired, still you must walk on. Oh, when you're halfway up the mountain, just keep climbing to the top. With our back to every valley low, in the land of shadows dark, let our eyes be lifted to the skies, for the triumph shall be ours. We have been here many times before, and we've never been alone. In every circumstance, He's not failed us yet, so let us just keep traveling on. When you're halfway up the mountain, there's no time to rest a while. When you're halfway to your victory, you must go that extra mile. Just keep pressing on, though the road is long. When your feet get tired, still you must walk on. Oh, when you're halfway up the mountain, just keep climbing to the top. When you're halfway up the mountain, there's no time to rest a while. When you're halfway to your victory, you must go that extra mile. Just keep pressing on, though the road is long. When your feet get tired, still you must walk on. Oh, when you're halfway up the mountain, just keep climbing to the top. Just keep pressing on, though the road is long. When your feet get tired, still you must walk on. Oh, when you're halfway up the mountain, just keep climbing to the top. Keep on climbing, just climbing to the top. Climbing to the top.
Hey, Dusty, we had Ed Leonard on this morning, and we talked about history and facts, and we learned so much about the Daywind brand and the company. But now we want emotion and sentiment, and we want your specialty, and that's heart, right?
It is. It is. I love calling it heart music. You know, Natalie, I was a 14-year-old kid, and I had grown up in a very dysfunctional home, and my mother was just a product of her own environment and how she was raised. She'd been married numerous times by the time I was 13, 14. Abused. We were abused not by my mother, but by stepfathers and different other people, my sister and I. And I was a miserable kid. I mean, I had flunked seventh grade because I hated going to school, and I was just miserable. I hated life. I was always known as the class clown.
Yeah.
I always known people always knew I loved to help people, but I was miserable deep inside. And at 14 years old, one Saturday afternoon, I was sitting at our kitchen table and sitting there. And back then, I'm from that kind of hippie, that 70s era. It was 1972, and I was we were raised very poor, so I couldn't afford to buy what we used to call beads that you put around your neck, these hippie beads. But I remember I was making some beads. I still remember at the table, and I got a knock on the door, Natalie, and this precious couple. I answered the door, and they said, "Hey, our names are Keith and Sharon Johns, and we go to the Pentecostal church down the road, and we're inviting kids to Sunday school." And we lived on the wrong side of town in a housing development for widows and divorcees and people who are on welfare. And there was something so special about these people, and of course, it was hard.
Mm.
And they took an interest in me and started picking me up. So I thought, well, I thought, well, I'm going to go. They had mentioned that they were going to go to the South Hills and go inner tubing. I was raised in Idaho, and there was a lot of snow, and I thought that'd be fun because we didn't have a car. We didn't do a lot of stuff. We mainly stayed in the little town we lived in. So I went to church with them, and this couple took such an interest in me. And I remember the first thing of going to a Sunday night service with them was the music.
Mm.
I can still remember. I remember a little lady, and I remember her singing a song, and the lyrics started out, "I feel the touch of hands so kind and tender.
Wow.
They're leading me in paths that I must trod." And I remember thinking, wow. And I love those lyrics. And Natalie, a few weeks later, they invited me to their house on a Sunday afternoon. They said, "We're going to cook dinner for you, and we'll just come over." So went to their house. They didn't have a TV, but they had a record player. So we ate lunch, and they were sitting in their chairs, and they said, "We're just going to sit here and listen to some music."
Mm.
And they put on this big stack of records. And I remember looking at some of the covers, didn't know any of the groups. But all of a sudden, I heard this trio.
Mm.
And I hear this song, "I feel the touch of hands so kind and tender." And I thought, oh, this music. Now I'm from Idaho. I didn't know what Southern gospel was. I didn't know what Christian rock and roll. I didn't know contemporary. I didn't know bluegrass. I just knew this music. It was what I thought. It was touching my heart.
Yeah.
And I heard these other songs, "Too Much to Gain to Lose," "Only Jesus Can Satisfy Your Soul." I heard these songs, I'd listen, I'd sit there, and they'd be dozing off, and I'd be listening to this music. I thought, this music is touching my heart. And I started calling it. I can remember leaving, and I can remember going home, and I can remember telling my mom I found this new heart music, and this music impacted my life. And it was about, I'd go over there every Sunday afternoon. I'd listen to the music. I knew who the artists were because I started studying about, but I didn't know anything. I'm from Twin Falls, Idaho. I was 14 years old. I was just unsaved, but this music impacted my life. So I was getting ready to turn 15, and I asked my mom. I said, "Mom," she said, "what do you want for your birthday?" And I said, "Mom, I'd love this heart music, this gospel music, whatever you call it." And she said, "Okay." And she didn't know what it was. But this is how, Natalie, this is how God works. And I hope every person, God, when we say he is real and he does things miraculous, let me tell you, I'm an example. I'm a product of it. My mom went to the Kmart store. We had a Christian bookstore, I later found out, but she went to the Kmart store, and she brought home 3 records out of the sale bin. She said, "Hey, I found these in the sale bin at Walmart. I think you'll like them." And lo and behold, Natalie, There was the Rambos, there was
Mhm.
the Lanny Wolf Trio, and there was the Downing. The same
Wow.
groups that this couple would play for me over and over and over.
Isn't that incredible?
Same groups. That's how God works. And I began to collect the music. I began to, study the songs, and we didn't have, there back then you didn't have internet or anything, but I finally found out there was a little Christian bookstore, and it was called Magic Valley Christian Bookstore and Jerry's Worm and Bait Supply. And it was a husband and wife, and they had a Christian bookstore, and they had a bait tackle shop attached to it.
What else could you
I
need, right, Dusty?
That's exactly right. Think about that, fishing and loving Jesus. So
Yeah.
I'd go and I'd buy these records. I started helping out in the store on Saturday, and she'd give me some free demos and stuff. And I began to collect music and began to study the music. And I loved the Rambos. I loved the Lanny Wolf Trio and the Downings, and Evie and Dallas Home. I started finding these artists. It was heart music. It was music that touched my heart. And I grew up, got married, collected vinyl, and listened to the music. I began to sing, and I'd share these songs. And I was 23 or 24. I'd been married about a year, and I got a call that the Rambos were coming to a high school in Tualatin, Oregon, where I was living at the time. We had just gotten married, and so I thought, well, this is my chance. I want to go see the Rambos.
Mm-hmm.
And I can remember going to that concert and just sitting there and just being. I mean, here was Reba and Donnie and Buck and Dottie, these bigger than life personalities. They got up there and they began to sing these songs. I feel the touch of hands so kind of tender.
Wow.
Well, after the concert was over, Natalie, I went back to the record table, as so many people do. And Buck and Donnie were down at this big record table, and they were selling music. It was a high school auditorium, and Reba and Dottie were kind of standing to the side all by themselves, and nobody was around them. So I walked up with them with my wife, and I said, "I'm Miss Rambo. I'm Dusty Wells, and I've loved your music since I got saved when I was 14, and loved your music." And then out of the blue, Natalie, to this day, I said, "And I'm going to work for you all one of these days." And Natalie, she turned to me and she grabbed Reba's hand and she said, "Reba," she said, "remember what I said to you at intermission?" She said, "I looked at the front row of that concert and I said, that boy needs to work for us one of these days."
That's incredible.
And we began an incredible
Wow.
friendship. You didn't have text, you didn't have instant messenger, you didn't have anything. But she gave me her phone number that night, and I gave them mine, and it developed. That's been, I was at that point 23. It's been 41 years of an incredible friendship until she was taken from us 15 years ago today. She died in a bus crash, but Reba and Donnie and Buck and all of them, I got to work for them for years. I began working at a Christian record company after that. And this is all I've ever done, Natalie, 41 years of helping get heart music out there, because that's what touched my life. That's what helped me walk through being an abused kid, being a troubled kid that had so many issues and so much junk. But it was this heart music that you daily play for people that touched my life.
And it all started with a 14-year-old little boy.
It sure did.
Probably felt unloved and unwanted.
Oh, I felt unloved, unwanted. My mom did the best she could. And like I said, she was a product of her own environment, of the way she was treated. But, we didn't have a lot. Everything was just in such a wrong sense of what love was supposed to be. And it was all, we were just abused in so many ways by our stepfathers and different people in our neighborhood. So I was insecure. I always had a good heart. I always wanted to help people. I always loved older people. I wanted to help the lady down the street So I had some good values, but I was just depressed and miserable and felt like nobody liked me. And I'll tell you what, Jesus changed my heart in 1972, and it all began with the songs. I can remember, I'm sure I heard some great preaching, but for me,
Yeah.
it was that music. It was that music that reached down, and that music became my best friend. That music became my best friend. And to this day, music plays such an important part of my journey, my life, my testimony, of everything I do, everything I've been entrusted with. It all begins with a song. And that's why I'm so crazy passionate about what our artists do, and that's why I'm so big with, hey, let's make sure it's not just a song of flesh or not just a song of the flesh. Let's make sure these songs speak and breathe life and hope and peace and strength into a person's life.
Yeah. Well, our audience thought they were going to just get an interview today, but they're really getting a love story. That's what they're getting right here. Let's play the song that I'm a little overwhelmed right now. Let's play the song that Dusty first heard on that record player by the Rebos. Let's go back and listen to it one more time, because we can certainly never hear it enough. Here it is. I feel the hands, so kind and tender, here sheltered in the arms of God.
Of hands so kind and tender, they're leading me in paths that I must trod. I'll have no fear, 'cause Jesus walks beside me. For I'm sheltered in the arms of God. So let the storms rage high, the dark clouds rise, they won't worry me, for I'm sheltered safe within the arms of God. He walks with me, and not a earth shall harm me, for I'm sheltered in the arms of God.
Soon I shall hear
the call
from heaven's portals.
Come on home, my child.
Come home, my child.
It's the last mile you'll have to trod.
It's the last mile you have to trod.
I'll just fall asleep.
I'll fall asleep
and
wake up in God's new heaven.
Sheltered safe,
forever sheltered
within
in the arms of
the
God.
arms of God. So let the storms rage high, the dark clouds rise, they won't worry me, for I'm sheltered safe within the arms of God.
He walks with me, and not of earth shall harm me.
For I'm sheltered in the arms of God.
So let the cold winds blow.
It's so good to know
have both been sheltered in the arms of
The
God.
arms of God.
Well, Dusty, yeah, you made the comment that as that little boy, you felt like no one liked you. Well, you said you're 64 now? Is that what you said?
I'm a very young 64.
Well, at 64, that's 50 years later. You
Yeah.
just might be the most liked person in all of
Mm.
gospel music. You know that?
That I love people. I love people, and I hope so. I hope people like me.
And
I hope
people
they
like
do.
you. They love you. These graphics started circulating on the fake book promoting that you were going to be on the morning show, and my inbox started dinging with lots of
Oh,
messages like, "Oh, I love Dusty Wells," and "You're having one of my favorite people on your show," and "Dusty is the greatest ever." I happen to concur with all of those statements.
mm, mm,
Yeah.
mm.
Um,
That is sweet. That is
uh,
so sweet. Mm.
Dusty, I wish you would take a second and explain to everybody exactly what you do at Day One. You talk about working with these artists, you talk about being involved in all of this music. What is your role at Day One?
Well, my role at Daywind is, I worked for Word for 25, almost 25 years, and Word got out of, and I did a lot of the same stuff that I do here, so I'll lead into that. But they got out of the distribution business, and I had worked with New Day. They were one of my, the people that would take the Word records and help take it into Christian bookstores and retailers. So when Word was getting out of distribution, the president of our company at that time, Rod Riley, and Ed met with Ed Leonard and Dottie Leonard, who I had known, and we'd had a great relationship. And they said, why don't we just move Dusty over here and let him be the label relations guy? That it would be the person that would handle the Word account and do everything, and then call on some of these retailers and these main top accounts that he's worked with for years and develop these relationships. So I came over to New Day. I joined forces with them 7 years ago, and it did some wonderful stuff with all of our different labels. And then about 3.5 years ago, Dottie and Ed said, we'd love for you to be over A&R. And what that means is you still do your label relation, because we work with all kinds of other labels as far as Word, Curb, Fair Trade, and that involves music from Lauren Daigle to For King and Country to Francesca Battistelli. So I've always been involved with the contemporary side as well. There again, so much of it's true heart music. But when they asked me to do A&R, they knew I was such a fan of the heart music, the Southern gospel, and I'd worked so closely with the Rambos and different artists. I've always had great friendships. And so they said, we'd like for you to be over the label and do A&R and help pick the songs, help put the projects together from our artists, sign new artists. So I've been doing that for about I'm nearly going on 4 years now, with an incredible team, with our radio team, with our marketing team, alongside of Ed. We have some of the best. There's so many great artists out there, Natalie. I know you know that are dear friends of mine. But for us, we have Greater Vision. We have Karen Peck and New River, Brian Free and Assurance, Jim and Melissa Brady. You have Tribute Quartet. You have Southbound. You have the Neelands. You have Kim Hopper. I know I'm going to miss out. So I have Jonathan Wilburn. The Sound, and then I've signed, some new artists. Oh, we have Lefevre's. I've signed the artist Southbound. I've signed a group called True Song that I love. We have a group called High Road. We just have some amazing, amazing artists that we work with that I daily get to work alongside of. And I start a record with them, and I take it and we sit and pick out songs. And first of all, the first thing I love to do is talk to them about heart. I love to talk to them about where they're going with their ministry. What are they feeling out there? And then we pick out songs, and we'll all listen to Ed, myself, Rick Shelton over at Publishing, the artist. And then we take it and we come up with an incredible, we get a producer, and then we build this record, and then we get our whole team involved. How's that going to play on radio? How are we going to do that with iTunes and Apple Music Christian retail. How can we get Christian retail involved? What can we do I always like to say at that point, what can I do with this record? And say, how can we healthily exploit this music so that it touches hearts everywhere?
Yeah.
And that's what I get to do. I get to go out and be with the artists and travel with them, and encourage them, and hopefully mentor them and challenge them at times. I don't like to call myself a pastor at all, because I'm not a pastor, but I do believe I'm a person that's there to encourage them when they're struggling. You know, they're out on the front lines. To walk beside them, to help raise their arms up, to help get them help where they need help, with all that they've been entrusted with. And I take it very seriously, Daywind Records. We are there to help these artists to take what God has so passionately burned in their hearts, in their lives, in their songs, in their stories, and take it out to a lot of hurting people.
Well, we've heard directly from a lot of these artists this week, and they say that Daywind does it like nobody else can do it.
That makes me, I love that. We have an incredible team, Natalie. I mean, I am so proud of the team that God has put in place, from Tiffany with the radio, and I know you know her, and Greg Goodman, Kyle with marketing, Jaquita, who works at the studio, Rick Shelton. They're all, and I love that Dottie Leonard, who started this company, and I know you've met her.
No, I have not met Dottie.
Okay, we've got to change
And
that.
I just told Ed. I just told Ed this morning. That's on my bucket list. A dream is to meet Dottie.
Well, she comes in. She started this business as a single mother, 2 kids, 42 years ago, and she still comes in several days a week and gives us guidance and leadership. And the music. I love it when I take a song to her. I can get him. I love it when I walk into her office and I play a song and I'll see her lift a hand, or I'll see a tear fall down her cheek. Ed's the same way. Everybody thinks Ed's Mr. Classy, but I love it when a song moves him, and I see it numerous times. And that's how I know it is true heart music. It's true heart music. And I love that Dottie's still involved with all of it.
Yeah. Well, let's play one of these groups that we absolutely love. We love all of the Daywind groups, but we've had the sound on our show. We've had them in our church. We love the sound. I mean, you can't beat the sound. We love those guys. They've got a brand new song out with Daywind, and let's play it right now. When we come back, we'll have one last segment with our friend Dusty Wells.
If you gave me power, I could lose it all. Build an ivory tower just to watch it fall. But when my world's in pieces, I know I found the secret to confidence when my back's against the wall. I can do all things through Him who strengthens me. There is nothing that can take my victory. Situations come and go, and I face them 'cause I know I can do all things through Him who strengthens me. In my lowest places, He will never leave. I can sing His praises if I just believe. No matter what the circumstances, I'm standing with a God who stands with me, and He is everything I need. I can do all things through Him who strengthens me. There is nothing that can take my victory. Situations come and go, and I face them 'cause I know I can do all things
Dusty, I want you to explain one more thing before we go, and then I'm going to give you time to say whatever else you'd like to say. But sometimes it's confusing for people. We have the term day wind, but then they'll pick up an album and they may see another word or another term on an album that we're calling day wind. They might see new day or they might see big picture. Would you take a second and explain the umbrella of day wind and how the different labels work, and tell us the different labels that day wind offers? Would you explain that?
I sure will. Well, Daywind Records, yeah, it started out as Daywind Music Groups, and then we had a Dottie started out, the company started out as New Day Distributors because she distributed all kinds of music and books and Bibles and everything. So then they started Daywind Records, and that's where they started with some of the groups, Brian Free, the Perrys. So you had Daywind Records. Well, as business grew, you would have artists that would come to us, and maybe they were not necessarily a full-time group yet, or maybe they were a group that just needed some help and some guidance, that you felt not that Daywind was above them, but you wanted to have what we would call a developmental label. You'd have something that we could offer the same services. There would be some just getting them started. So we came up with Big Picture Records, Artist Resource Services, New Day Records. Actually, we just wanted to have another name for not necessarily, maybe if we would have signed, if we were to sign a more contemporary group. And when I say contemporary, I'm talking like the sound.
Progressive. That's a good word.
Progressive is the perfect word, because there again, I'm not a big fan of labeling. I'd rather just, what I'd really love is say, this is heart music. This is heart music records. That's what I love. But so you'd have New Day Records, but they all of them. We also have a worship kind of label that's called Vital Records, that we put some worship. We have Daywind Worship, which is choir music, but they all tie into the umbrella of Daywind Music Group. And it's just where we fit. When I sign an artist, I usually sit there with them and think, most of the time they're going to go on Daywind or New Day, just because those are the two, they're not premier, but they're just the strong ones that people would know. But Big Picture Records, we have a group called Justified Quartet that has done incredible well.
We featured them all the time, Dusty. We've had them as our featured artists. We brought them to Mississippi.
They're phenomenal quartet. Well, I want to move them over to Daywind New Day, however we decide to do that in the next couple of months, just because I feel like there's some extra things that we can do, that we can feel like fantastic. So we're all about that. We have Artist Resource Service that really comes along and loves to help, and Jaquita does that so wonderfully. We've got Westward Road on there. We've got the Jordan Family Band. We've got the Isaacs, and some of that means that
I didn't realize the Isaacs were connected to Daywind. I didn't know that.
They are. We do a lot of their through ARS. We do their radio. We do some of their marketing, but they're not. They bring us a record finished, and we take it from there. So yeah, Vaughn Family, a precious little group.
I know them too.
That Ben Isaacs brought to us. So yeah. So, but it's all tied together under this wonderful umbrella of Daywind Music Group, and I would think that most of those artists would say to you, we feel very much loved and appreciated by the entire team at Daywind. So because we try to keep them all, it's just room for growth for some of the artists on those other smaller labels.
Yeah, I would think it would be a dream of any artist to be connected with Daywind.
I like to think that I would love. There's a lot of groups I'd love to join us, and but at the same time, there's also, I know that we have other. Stowtown Records is a wonderful company. Crossroads, and many of my dear friends and dear artists work for them and travel with, and work with their people. I'm a huge fan of Greg Bentley. I'm a huge fan of Wayne Hahn, and Landon Bean. I'm fans of all of those people, but I very much so. I would love to I'd love for other artists to join us at Day Wind.
Yeah, I imagine so. Well, I have said it before. I will say it again and again and again that I love Day Wind, but I think my favorite thing about Day Wind is Dusty Wells.
Oh,
I've
that
never.
Natalie, yeah, it makes me that's so kind of you. That's so kind.
It's
You know, I feel the same about you. We connected the very first time we met. I loved your. It goes back to heart. I love your heart. I love that you're a cheerleader for other people, and that's I believe that's one of the greatest things that people in radio, people in Christian music can do.
I appreciate that. I do want to say before we go, I want to acknowledge that as this year's Absolutely Gospel Music Award, Dusty Wells was awarded with the Dion Unthank Memorial Award for having a great impact on Southern gospel
Yeah.
music and everyone involved. So congratulations, Dusty, on that much deserved award.
Thank you. That was a shock. I never win anything.
You won a big
But
one there.
But it was very sweet. It was very sweet. I love I love what the people at Absolutely Gospel have done. You know, Susan Unthank and Dion, who started this, they've always been such great cheerleaders and encouragers to so many of these artists in the beginnings. So it was just a real blessing. And Bev McCann and all of them out there, just I was totally surprised and totally shocked. You know, sometimes you hear people get up there, and I sometimes make fun of people when they win an Academy Award, or they, oh, this is so unexpected, and I'm thinking, yeah, right. No, I now know what they feel like.
Dusty, thank you for letting us feature Day Wind this week and for sharing your heart with us. You have a friend right here on the morning show. I hope you won't ever forget it.
I won't. I just love and adore you. Appreciate all you do for our artists, for our writers, the singers, the groups, the songwriters, every part of our company. Thank you for what you do in helping get out this incredible music that is art music. Thank you, Natalie.
Thank you, Dusty. I've enjoyed this time so much. We're going to leave out this morning with one more of the Day Wind artists. Oh, and Dusty, this would be a good time to make the announcement that this group right here will be our featured artist next week. I just call them the sweetest voices in all of gospel music. Here's the brand new song from the Nealons. It's called Beautiful. We'll be featuring it all next week. Thanks again, Dusty. You are special.
Thank you.
The
beautiful.